Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to be talking about the INAV troubleshooting on throttle arming issues, and there could be many of reasons why your throttle isn't arming up, and today we're just going to go through steps and the reasons why it might not arm up, and also going to give you an idea of how to make things work, or if your servo's also not working, we might also figure out that why. So yeah, let's just get started. So yeah, the issue that I had with my INAV configurator, or with my INAV, the reason why it will not arm up, is because I didn't have my throttle all the way down to, let me go back, to negative 150 or whatever negative number you might have, but it has to be all the way down. And in some transmitters like Spectrum or maybe some Futaba or some other, they might have their throttle above or in negative 100, not all the way down. So make sure that that is true in here. So make sure that that is right in here. And plus, there's also another issue, and which is on the configurator. And those of you might who be wondering, does protocol matter? And I will say no, protocol does not matter. You can go with whatever protocol you want: S plus, serial based, Crossfire, ELRS, or Spectrum. This is the one that I'm going with. But yeah, as I'm saying, protocol doesn't matter, and we're gonna figure out things. We're gonna figure out why it's not working on certain models. So yeah, let's just get it. Now we're just gonna go and connect the INAV configurator or the INAV board in here, and let us connect the cable to the board right here. Make sure flash like this, and now we're gonna go and click connect. So as you can see, all my INAV bars are showing checked, and if one of these guys are crossed, so then the board will not arm. And make sure that your accelerometer or this thing is calibrated, or else it will not work. And also, if your hardware health is not valid, if it's crossed out, so make sure that it gets held. But yeah, we're gonna show the issues or the reasons why it might not work. And the number one issue that I will say is that make sure that this thing is ticked on, because if this thing is turned off, none of your settings, like your motor throttle arms, will not work. As you can see, I have flaps in there. And as you might know, I will tell you that do not put any type of mixing into your transmitter. Like, you're doing all the mixing in here, you're not doing it in your transmitter. So make sure that that thing is true also. Plus, you see that my throttle gets armed. And the other issue, the other reason why they might not turn on, is that make sure that GPS mode is turned off. If you're not doing GPS for your first flight, make sure that this thing is turned off. If you are doing GPS, make sure that you just turn this thing on and do the GPS calibration, and after that your throttle will be able to arm. And yeah, the other issue that I would say is that make sure that this thing is on do nothing if you have no GPS. Make sure that this thing is not on RTH or on land or drop, or else it will not work. You're just gonna click do nothing if you do not have a GPS. And the second issue, or the other issue why, is on this page. So the other reason why is that maybe you might have your protocol selected wrong. And my protocol, as you can see, is Spectrum SRLX or SRL. And if you have selected the protocol wrong, it will not work also. And make sure that all of your control surfaces work. Throttle, roll, pitch, yaw, throttle, and which channels work. You can see I've selected flaps in here. And the other issue, this is the issue that I've personally come across, and it was that I've enabled one of these. Now when I had enables, I was trying to figure out why it was not arming, and I had this throttle override selected, and while this thing is on, your throttle will not work, and that's a fact. And as I said, make sure that it's disables, and just make sure that it's on true. Now, if you do know what you're doing in this page, then yeah, go ahead and apply your settings in here. But if you don't know, just don't touch this page at all. It's just one of those types of pages. You should not be touching it if you don't know. But as usual, apply your settings if you do know. But let's go to tuning, and in tuning, make sure that you don't mess up one of these settings. If you do like to modify your airplane, you might just click, you might be able to modify the pitch, yaw, and roll configurations. And this page, make sure that this thing is also enabled. Enable motor servo output, and yep, ports. make sure that this thing is also enabled. That might be the reason why your servos or your motor might not be able to working. But make sure all this, make sure that this part is enabled. If you're using UR1 or if you're using UR2, enable this. But most of us are still using UR1 as usual. And the final check is that make sure that all of your that the receiver, the accelerometer is collaborating. Like if it's not collaborate, it's not gonna work. And this thing that you do need to make sure that is on or that is selected is mode switch. Now make sure that your transmitter, now look, this flight control that we are using is, it literally has a gyro inside of it, so you don't need to install any type of on built or like external gyro into it. So yeah, make sure that these settings are on and make sure that you assign them into a channel, like channel 7, channel 6, like whatever channel you might be able to use. And make sure that you also use an arm switch. Don't use the throttle cost switch on your transmitter because it might also be preventing it from flying or being able to arm. But as you can see, mine works because this thing right here, this blue bar right here, is on the part where it's not armed, and as soon as it crosses the blue line, it's armed. And this thing gives you the range. Right, this is the range of how. This is the range of how, like, of how fast or like how much your throttle is able to travel. So make sure that this thing is all the way up to the greatest variable number. And yeah, and also make sure that you have one of these modes selected, because if these modes are not selected, I will say it will not arm. And yeah, so make sure that these guys are selected as well. And yeah, and the other thing that I will say, just sorry I forgot to videotape this part, but like make sure that this part is ticked off. If you have permanently enabled launch mode, then it means that your airplane will not arm until it detects some motion. And as in usual in some of us might be operating airplanes or operating UAVs that are going to be taking off on the ground, and yeah, that does not apply in those terms and conditions. But if you do have a flying wing or something like that will be hand launched, yeah, you can enable this, but like, yes, it's totally your choice to enable it or not. But as usual, we're just gonna leave this page just like what it is. You can just go and take a screenshot on every single one of these pages that I've just shown you and just copy the settings. And as usual, we're gonna hop into the transmitter and gonna show you some basic setups on how to have a perfectly normal no mixing setup on your transmitter. So let's just get into it. So yeah, as I said on the last part of the video, make sure that that all of your control surfaces or like all of your controls, that all of your mixes are just simple or just plain straight. And also the other issue, like if you're on a random model that I'm in, it's gonna have it at -100 rather than having it in. Let me go to this U5, this airplane right here, and as on the previous video, I have it at -100. So make sure that that thing is true. But like if you do want to know how to get that thing all the way down on Spectrum, as I know, you go to this menu section, like the servo setup, and you see the travel down view. It lets you how much travel you're supposed to have on each one of your sticks. And as you can see, I have a -150. It could be whatever negative number you have in there. But as usual, make sure that is true, or make sure that it's like that. And yeah, make sure that you just don't have like any type of weird mix. It's just saying that over and over to make sure. You're gonna be assigning channels through 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever channel you want to use. But as usual, make sure that all those statements are right. If you're still having an issue, it might be the version of the INAV that you're in. As I might know, in INAV 7 or INAV 6, the board will not arm until it has a GPS lock. And yeah, that was with that was back in 2019. Back then I was using INAV, but as you might know, if you do have one of those versions of INAV, make sure that you upgrade to the new configurator, INAV 8 or INAV 9, and also update the board into it. And the other reason could be bad soldering. If you do have bad soldering in there, if you do have the board broken, it will not arm. And I will say, like, if you are able to arm the motor through INAV, yeah, your board is not broken. But if you're not, then yeah, there might be something wrong with your board. And also that tick setting enable servo and motor output, that could be the reason why. And yeah, so make sure that all the things are right. And yeah, see you guys on the next one. Peace.